Hey guys, it's me, Deborah the Paleoista, and today I'm here with Victor, and we're talking about his diagnosis. Say hi, Victor.
Hi.
Okay, so this is my son, Victor, and I asked him again to list words that describe him, and he said cautious, creative, an animator, and a Lego enthusiast. And I asked him what motivates him, and he says YouTube videos of stop motion. And I asked him what upsets him, and he said that he is upset when he can't find things that inspire him. And his interests are video games, YouTube, making stop motion videos, snuggling with a family, gymnastics, drawing, and creating games. Victor is 10 years old. He'll be 11 soon.
On Halloween.
Yeah, he's my little Halloween baby. And again, we took him to his pediatrician and told him that we had concerns over hand flapping, preoccupied interest, difficulty making friends, reactivity to unexpected sounds, excessive hand washing, and dislike of change. Sound about right? Mm-hmm. So when we got there, the doctor asked us about the things that we had already talked about. We also talked about some of the ways that he moves. He has some very strange movements that he does. Like he'll put his hands on his hips and kind of throw out his chest. And he does this little head bob, and he clicks. And he's always made a lot of noise. And he can be kind of blunt and insensitive to other people, and very much compulsive behavior and concern with the germs and contamination. At the time, he was doing a lot of finger snapping, but I think that's just because his anxiety had gotten so high during those months, because now that his anxiety is a lot lower, he has not been snapping his fingers anymore. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah. He kind of talks at people instead of talking to them. He'll monologue or, script, echolalial scripting. He is close to his brother, but their play is usually directing each other instead of reciprocal. Victor does not want his hair or nails cut and complains that hurts when we brush his hair. He reacts to sudden sounds, will cover his ears. These can be common sounds, such as a female peer in the waiting room said hi to him, and he put his hands over his ears and kind of jumped, and he said it was very loud. Our dog does not bark inside unless she's really playful, or if she thinks there's something outside. And she always gives warnings, like you can tell she's gonna bark, and so I have to tell him, dog is gonna bark. And if you warn him, he's okay, but if she barks unexpectedly, he jumps, he reacts. We had another dog at the house a couple of days ago, and he is much younger and has not been trained not to bark, and he came in the house and started barking, and Victor was in full meltdown. He was crying on the couch, just
covered in blankets and pillows.
Yeah, covered in blankets and pillows, needing a hug, needing firm pressure. You were a mess, weren't you, baby? That dog had you in a state. Like I said, he has compulsive hand washing. He has to wash his hands a specific way. It was one time that he would not come out of the bathroom, and went in there to see what was going on because he'd been in there for so long, and he's standing there with the water running and his hands in the air, and we're like, baby, why do you have your water running if you're not even washing your hands? And he's like, I can't turn off the faucet, there's no towel in here. And he had just been standing there because he couldn't dry his hands off on the towel, and the water's just running the entire time because he couldn't turn off the faucet until he dried his hands. So he is concerned with contamination and poisonous objects and will not go near mushrooms. He's also bothered by slimy textures. He does not like fasteners like buttons and zippers, and only wants to wear elastic pants and t-shirts. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes? Alright, Victor will comply with direction if you give him enough, if you get his attention and give him time to finish what he's doing. He's more defiant with Ray because Ray expects him to do something as soon as he tells him to, whereas most of the time I'm like, hey Victor, in the next 5 minutes I'm gonna let you know and we're gonna do something. Or, hey Victor, it's time to start cleaning up your Legos because we're gonna go to bed soon, or you know, something like that. And so he has time to kind of adjust and start getting ready to do something. Isn't that right? You need time to think about it, don't you? Alright. In gross motor skills, Victor shows poor coordination, but he has made some improvements with his tumbling class. He does not want to learn how to ride a bike because he's terrified. Yeah. In fine motor, he often blends in letters and words with poor spacing. In self-care, he needs help with brushing his teeth because he dislikes the actual toothbrushing. Don't you? But that's been better since you got your new toothbrush, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also use a timer, and I kind of have to just be in there with him, or you know, somebody does, to make sure that he's not just pacing back and forth with the toothbrush in his mouth talking, and actually stays in the bathroom and brushes his teeth. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And like I said, he doesn't like having his hair brushed. His dad used to brush his hair, and that was a fight. They'd both be screaming, yelling, Victor be crying. I was the only one who could brush his hair. I've taught Lydia how to help me out with brushing his hair, and she taught me how to braid because I wasn't very good at braiding. He's never wanted to have his hair cut, but his sister has cut his hair once without his permission, and his brother has cut his hair once without his permission. But I keep it trimmed. But he likes his hair long, and he gets confused as a girl, and he's always like, I'm a boy. And he doesn't get upset about it. He's just like, I'm a boy. He does kind of get upset about it if people continue to call him a girl after that, after he's corrected them a few times, but some people don't listen too good, do they?
No.
He used to just have it like just kind of wild and free, and it was so tangled, and I tried to convince him to put it in a ponytail. After, I don't know, a couple of years maybe of asking you if you would wear it in a ponytail, I got you to do so. And then we tried to get him to have it braided, and we told him, you know, if you have it braided, it'll be a lot less hard to keep it untangled. And he finally let us braid it, and now he loves it braided, don't you?
Yeah.
But I remember when when it was loose, one of his favorite things was to run up and down the hall and just have it, he'd put his hands out, and he would kind of do his head like this and hit his hair with his hands. It's hard to explain, and I don't have long hair, but he would just be like, do you remember that?
Yes.
Was that fun?
Yeah.
It does take him a while to dress himself, but he is able to dress himself and pick out his own clothes. But he has no real interest in wearing, I forgot, a spider on me. No real interest in wearing tennis shoes. He prefers flip-flops, even in winter, don't you?
Yeah.
And speaking of shoes, I got a funny story about shoes. Okay. When Victor was about, I want to say 2, we got this pair of shoes. It was racing boots, and they had Lightning McQueen on them from Cars. And he just absolutely loved those boots. Wore them every day. They were super cool. Well, he's always been kind of a tiny guy, and so he didn't grow, and he was able to wear those shoes until they literally started falling apart. And so they're falling apart, and I tell him, and we would go to the store, and I'd be like, hey, let's pick you out some new shoes, and he'd be like, okay. And I'd get the shoes, and he'd say, I don't want to wear them. So I'd be like, okay, well, we'll try again later. Well, one day the shoes were just in a mess. His feet were starting to grow and outgrow his shoes. I knew they had to be hurting him. So I'm like, Victor, can we get you some new shoes? No. Alright, so that night I put him to bed, and I took his shoes and I hid them. I hid your shoes. And the next day we got up and I'm like, your shoes are gone. And he's like, what? And I said, I can't find your shoes. We're gonna have to get you some new ones. And he's like, okay. And I said, alright, let's go to the store. And he goes, okay. Where are my shoes? And I'm like, they're gone. I don't know where they are. And he's like, okay, where are my shoes? And I'm like, Victor, your shoes are gone. Okay. And so I get him in the car with no shoes on and take him to the store to get him some new shoes. And he's not having it. He's so upset. And none of the shoes are right. He's crying. Finally find just, some generic shoes that fit. And I'm like, these are your shoes, I'm sorry. And got those, and those were the ones that he wore. But he was really upset about it. And I still have those shoes. I still have the Lightning McQueen racing shoes somewhere.
I thought they were boots.
They were boots, yeah. Because I couldn't get rid of them after that. I knew, they were so special to him, but I knew I had to hide them and for him to actually, get a new pair of shoes. I've never told you that one, have I? No. He's always spoken with an odd sentence structure, but when he was younger, he would say some really funny things. He would enter a room and he'd say, hey, it's me, Victor, hello.
Hey, it's me, hello.
And if you said, Victor, come here, he'd go, who, me, Victor? He is able to relate his needs, but sometimes he takes a little coaxing, because you'll look at him and you'll be able to see that he's not acting like himself, and you say, Victor, are you okay? Yeah. Are you sure? What's wrong, Victor? I don't know. Are you hurt? My stomach kind of hurts. So, you know, he can tell us what's going on, but sometimes he does take a little prodding. He can have some difficulty understanding abstract communication. We'll say something sarcastic and he'll go, "Was that sarcasm?" "Yes." He also has trouble understanding body language, and he sometimes gets picked on by his peers. Sometimes his gymnastics coach. He does have trouble reading facial expressions. Sometimes, you know, his brother will be mad at him and he'll just keep going like nothing's wrong, and then they'll get into a fight because he'll just keep going and keep talking to his brother the same way he's been talking, and his brother's getting angrier and angrier and starts growling at him. And it used to be where his brother would hit him, but his brother has stopped hitting him now. Victor taught himself how to read and write when he was only 4 years old.
I did.
He did.
Sometimes I have a good memory, sometimes I have a bad memory.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you tell me something really complicated, like originally I heard that GLaDOS's name actually stood for something, and what it stood for I couldn't remember originally, but now I do. And then there's stuff that I can remember, even though it's been such a long time. Like, I remember when I was at Disney World once, but in slight pictures or slightly moving pictures. But I still remember it, and that took place when I was 10
Yeah.
years old.
When he was 2 years old and 1 month, we went to Disney World, and he still has several memories of Disney World. So he does have a good memory sometimes, and sometimes not so much. And when he was little, he was a little backseat driver. You know, he knew the way to everything, and if you would start out toward Walmart, you know, he'd be like, turn here, turn here, turn here. But if you started like going to a different store and he thought you were going to this, you know, like if you were going to the bookstore and he thought you were going to Walmart, he'd be like, turn here. Where you going? This the wrong way.
It was adorable.
It was adorable and aggravating. Victor, we're going to the bookstore. Why? Because we want to look at books, baby. Okay. Victor's temperament is pretty pleasant. He does get frustrated sometimes, but when he's frustrated, he tends to kind of just go off on his own, and he gets quiet most of the time, and he may even cry. But when he's not frustrated and he's in the room, he loves to talk. Right now, his favorite thing is Portal.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So everything is Portal. His paper crafts are Portal. His stop motions are Portal. His Legos are Portal.
Yeah.
Sometimes when he's really upset with himself, he'll slap himself. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not good, is it? Is it? No. And a lot of times when he's slapping himself, he'll call himself stupid. And you're not stupid, are you? Mm-hmm. No. You just feel really bad in that moment, don't you? Yeah. Victor's really cautious when it comes to anything that he perceives as dangerous. He becomes hyper-focused when it's something that he enjoys, like making stop-motion videos. He can sit in the hallway making stop-motion videos for hours, can't you?
Yes.
But then when it comes to something like schoolwork, or chores, it's an uphill struggle to get him to do 30 minutes, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. It's not interesting. He has a lot of anxiety. He's been socially inhibited in the past. There have been times when, like, people talk to him, he'll kind of hide between me and his dad, or behind me, and not say anything. He has nervous habits, including biting his nails, snapping his fingers, and stretching his shirt. He's rule-oriented and does not like lying or cussing. Do you like it when people lie or cuss?
No.
No. It's rude, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. His interests include crystals, glass, Minecraft, Mario, Portal. What are some of your other interests? And I mean pieces of glass. Like, he will collect pieces of glass. We had to stop it because some of them are too sharp, and I was afraid he was going to get cut. Sonic.
Yeah,
Sonic. What else?
Pokemon.
Legos.
Yes.
Stop motion.
Yes.
He has some convulsions, like if he has hamburger at a restaurant, it has to be cut up a certain way. At the time, he really liked to have spicy mayonnaise on just about everything. He doesn't necessarily want spicy mayonnaise on everything anymore.
Mainly sushi.
Right, mainly sushi.
Ketchup on my meat. Except for pork.
Except for pork chops.
Yes. Then I like to have spicy mayonnaise.
Ah.
And also occasionally on my hamburger, I'll have a bit of spicy mayo too.
Uh-huh.
Like when we go to cemetery.
Right. Okay. He likes to put his special Legos in certain containers, and that has caused some problems with cleaning up his room because there's just not enough room for all the special Legos in all their own special containers. It bothers him if there's change in the schedule. It bothers him if there's change in route, like we said, about going places. He has some strange body movements, like pushing his teeth forward, sticking out his chest with his hands up to his side, and clicking his throat. When outside, he and his brother like to play act-out video games. And he's always shown odd play of lining up his toys and categorizing them by type. He does have pretty good eye contact if he knows you. If he doesn't know you, he doesn't want to look at you. Hypersensitive to certain sounds. He loves to smell things. If you take him into a place that has like scented candles, then we're going to be there a while, aren't we, Victor?
Yes.
We got to smell all the scented candles. Victor is hypersensitive to touch, like brushing his hair. He doesn't like tickles.
Like things that aren't hot to others can be extremely hot to me. Things that are normally cold can be extremely cold to me. Or warm.
Yeah, he's a little Goldilocks.
Yeah.
It has to be just right. But he does like tight pressure, and it was so funny when he was a toddler, and even a little younger than a toddler. It's like he would be playing, or just zoned out, looking at something, and all of a sudden he would just come up to you or turn around and just hug the stew out of you. Like so much love had just built up that it had to have a release. Victor was observed during the interview. It was noted that he had long braided hair. He greeted the therapist and responded to questioning during transition, but did not make eye contact. He readily began exploring toys and showing objects to his mother and commenting. He also commented when he completed a puzzle. He followed directions. He sought attention from others. He spoke with an odd sing-song voice quality and more like that of a preschool child. He spontaneously gave his mother a hug a couple of times during the interview. He spontaneously related some information, such as telling the therapist about his birthday meals. He shared his creations with magnets with others. So then there was the second part of the evaluation where he met with the behavioral therapist.
Yep.
And so he presented for testing as shy and reserved and anxious with moderate energy level and intact speech and language and motor skills. He generally understood instructions, maintained good interest and effort, concentration and persistence, and responded in a reflective manner. He was noted to display some tick-like behavior, such as finger snapping, eye turning, and chin lifting. He was self-conscious about his behavior when discussed with his mother and him present in the room. So they gave him the Adaptive Behavior Assessment System 2nd edition to assess adaptive functioning. And he got General Adaptive Composite of 70, borderline delay in adaptive skills, borderline delay in communication and academic skills, borderline delay in play and social skills, borderline deficit in self-help, domestic, and community skills. And his age functioning ranges from less than 5 in social skills to 8.7 in domestic skills. They gave him the Children's Yale Brown Obsessive-Compulsive Scale, and he got his OCD falls in the severe range of severity, with obsessions of fear of kitchen contamination, fear of germs from touching objects, including using his elbows to open doors or try to, fear of touching sticky objects, fear of bad things happening to himself or his family. He spends 3 to 8 hours a day occupied by obsessive thoughts. He seems to experience moderate distress and interference associated with obsessions. He makes some effort to resist them, but seems to have little control over them. He follows, and then and then his compulsions were washing his hands in a ritualized way, difficulty throwing away useless objects, including every little bit of paper ever, all the boxes, all of them, right?
Yes.
Arranging and categorizing objects in a certain way, needing to tell or confess wrongdoings, and being very rule-oriented. He also engages in some checking behavior, erasing and rewriting, counting objects, rituals involving others, needing to snap his fingers, and some self-injurious behavior of slapping himself. It is estimated that Victor spends 3 to 8 hours a day performing compulsive behaviors. He seems to experience severe distress and moderate to interference associated with compulsions. He completely and willingly yields to compulsions with no control over them. And he experiences severe procrastination in starting and finishing tasks, moderate avoidance and pathological doubting, and mild indecisiveness. In the Autism Diagnostic Observations Schedule 2nd edition Module 3. So this is the test that actually tests for autism spectrum disorder. Victor was initially anxious and needed encouragement from his mother to transition. He seemed to comprehend well, but his speech quality was of an odd nature. He engaged in body movements of finger snapping and his chin up and eye turning. He covered his ears when there were sounds such as a pencil sharpener. Victor was able to request assistance. He had difficulty engaging in imaginary play, but was able to join in an interactive play with reciprocity and shared enjoyment. He was able to act steps of a familiar routine with very detailed gestures and descriptions. He was able to describe a complex picture. He was able to tell a sequential story with connecting phrases, but did not understand the theme of the story. He was able to describe abstract cartoons, but had difficulty understanding the abstract quality of the emotional gist, humor, and lessons learned. Victor has some difficulty engaging in reciprocal conversation. He was able to acknowledge comments and express identity and express emotions and connect emotions to personal experiences. He was able to describe how his own body feels inside and how he reacts to emotions. He had difficulty describing how he feels, most of the time stating it depends on the day. He relates that he does not have friends as he is homeschooled. He was able to describe concepts of a friendship. He notes that peers have made fun of him, but seem to have an unclear understanding of this. When asked why peers tease him, he states that it is because they love him. He was unable to describe what he might do to annoy others. He was able to tell a joke and understand humor. He was able to imitate a 6-step motor sequence and verbal sequence, as well as simple and complex verbal sentences. He was able to understand idioms. He was able to create a novel video game. When given a break, he sat quietly looking at books with limited spontaneous comments. So, on the ADOS 2 Module 3, he obtained a social affect total of 5 and restricted and repetitive behavior total of 2 for an overall of 7, and 7 is the cutoff for autism spectrum disorder. On the Asperger syndrome diagnostic scale, he got a quotient of 116, falling in the very likely probability of Asperger's syndrome. On the behavior assessment system for children, 2nd edition self-report that Victor completed himself to assess emotional and behavior patterns, he got mild elevation in hyperactivity and borderline elevation in attitude to teachers, negative, and attention problem. The adaptive profile reveals borderline weakness in interpersonal relations and self-reliance. In the Achenbach Child Behavior Checklist, reveals elevation in thought problems, twitching, picking, repetitive behavior, hoarding, odd behavior, mild elevations in anxiety, depression, anxiety problems, affective problems, and somatic problems and complaints. Strengths, and then this is the one where we had to fill it out and tell, some strengths, things that we notice about Victor that we think make him an awesome person. And I put that Victor is smart, bright, builds with Legos, and makes up puns. And he really does. He makes up puns all the time, and they're really good, for puns. Isn't that right, Victor? You're good at puns, aren't you? And his dad listed his strengths as he is brilliant, talented, and always creating something special. In conclusion, Victor presented with odd body movements, difficulty making friends, insensitivity to others, sensory sensitivity, compulsive behavior, concern with germs. He has not been formally assessed in his ability, academic skills, but seems to be above average in reading and generally on target academically. Adaptive assessment, however, reveals borderline and mild delays in adaptive skills, falling significantly below his expected ability level, especially in social and communication skills. Victor is showing a significant pattern of social and communication impairment and stereotyped and repetitive behavior and interest characteristic of autism spectrum disorder of an Asperger's type. Often seen with this pattern, but seeming to be more pronounced and separate pattern, is obsessive-compulsive disorder. That is, Victor shows some of the typical autism-related obsessions with video games and other interests. However, he also shows some concerns with contamination and hand washing and suggests separate pattern. Victor also seems to show separate anxiety patterns of social anxiety and performance anxiety. He has sensory sensitivities consistent with autism spectrum pattern. Victor reports difficulty regulating his attention and behavior and having a more negative attitude about school. It is encouraging that Victor is smart, creative, polite, and knowledgeable. So the diagnostic impression is Asperger's syndrome / autism spectrum disorder, other obsessive compulsive disorder, social phobia generalized, including performance anxiety, sensory processing disorder, and possible tic disorder. It's recommended that we go back to the pediatrician and talk about the results, and that Victor participate in counseling services to address social challenges and anxiety, to develop important social skills and coping skills. He would benefit from participation in social skills intervention group to help him improve his social awareness and sensitivity, social skills, and social communication. If Victor is unable to participate in a social group, they suggest that he continue with his tumbling class, as well as other activities such as Boy Scouts or other small group activities, in which he will have an opportunity for consistent interaction with peers and develop improved social skills and peer relations. Given that his adaptive skills seem to be delayed, they would also recommend focus on prompting his social and communication skills as part of his academic curriculum, as he appears to be falling further behind in these skills than he is academically, and these skills will also be important to his success. Opportunity for participation in activities with other homeschool students is also recommended. So that was Victor's diagnostic report. And Victor, you got anything to say?
Well, I did want to show a little crab apple I found.
Okay, but do you have anything to say about your diagnosis?
Well, it was fun.
It was fun?
Yeah.
But you were real anxious about it?
Yeah.
A little scared?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So,
Alright, so we're going to show you a crab apple, and then we're going to say goodbye.
look, it has a crab apple. And it's a little mushy since I got this on a Saturday. And yeah, it's been a while. But still in pretty good condition. Not edible.
Alright, you going to say goodbye?
Well,
Come here.
okay.
Alright, so if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, share,
Subscribe.
leave comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye.
Bye! Let them out!
And many more. Shut the door. Go, 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 go.
Come on, Iron Man. What?
Iron Man.
Yay!
I love that.
Don't touch. Goodbye, Victor.
Sorry.
Why you leave me?
I
Okay.
didn't know a heart. In the water.
Oh, look, a heart in the water. That's pretty cool, Victor.
I found it.
Thank you for showing me that.
You're welcome.
What were you looking at?
The sand, the extra sand kind of looks like a pile of sugar.
Oh, yeah, it does. Pile of sugar sand. She wants you to pet her. She's a
Okay.
sweet dog.
Okay. Here.
Yep, that was like the easiest thing in the world, was teaching Victor how to read, because he just did it himself. How'd you do it? What's your secret?
I don't remember.
You were
This kind of
silly.
looks like dry peanut butter. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Peanut butter. He's
Well,
taking
they're
my
not
Portal Legos.
Well, they're actually Dad's Portal Legos. Me.
All Legos Dimensions are mine.
Legos Dimensions. Lego itself is already a plural.
All Lego Dimensions are mine. He would hide.
Banana peel. It's disgusting.
That is a banana peel. somebody threw out their breakfast. Where are you going, Victor? What you doing? Zigzag? Alright, he has some compulsions, like he, if he has like a film in the sky,